Jay Baba. All right, well, what I'll do then, since I don't see my girl here yet, is I'll do a song by Francis Brabazon that I thought I'd have ready in case we needed a song. And this is a poem called Take, O Take. And the words are Francis Brabazon, and the music is by Judy Ernst. What I'll just remind everybody is that if you'd like to share something about Francis, we do ask that you raise your hand digitally. And we do this by hitting Alt-Y on a PC and Option-Y on a Mac. Also, there is a raise hand function for some of us and a reaction function. And it just depends on which computer you have, what you'll see, or what version. So we ask that you raise your hand digitally. If that's an issue, then just put your hand up, but it's hard for me to catch people's hands up. Take, oh, take my eyes away, memories be erasing. For myself I'll surely slay, by on may hair gazing. He came for our sake, you say, God with manhood blending. Oh, I call him break a day, where night has its ending. Take, oh, take my ears away, that his words are hearing. As myself I cannot stay, if his love I am bearing. He is peace and love, you say, God to man bending. Oh, I call him break a day, where night has its ending. Take, oh, take my eyes away, memories erasing. For myself I'll surely slay, by on may hair gazing.
Jay Baba, good morning.
Jay Baba, there you are, darling.
How is everybody this morning? Sorry we were late. We couldn't find the new password.
Ah, mastery through servitude, huh?
Yes, we found it in the end. We can't get our light to go on, so hopefully it will come on soon.
All right. Well, if you would like to start with a bio, that would be great.
All right. Happy Baba birthday to you, dearest Francis. May beloved Baba bless you all your days. Happy Baba birthday to you, dearest Francis. May your heart ever sing beloved Baba's praise. Oh, may you have 100 years to serve beloved God, to laugh in the land in which his dear feet have trod, for heart to warble like a magpie in the sun's rising, the same few notes yet ever new and surprising. Happy Baba birthday to you, dearest Francis. May beloved Baba bless you all your days. Happy Baba birthday to you, dearest Francis. May your heart ever sing beloved Baba's praise. How is the sound? We're using the snowball today.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Hi. You should have clapped along with the spoons. Good morning from me and Peeler. He's helping with the sound and setup here. So let me read one of the several bios I've got here. I thought it would be more fun to read Francis's bio about himself first. I, Francis Brabazon, was born in England. But when I was 5 years old, everyone can hear you. I, Francis Brabazon, was born in England. But when I was 5 years old, my father decided that the city of dreadful night, i.e. London, was not a fit place to bring up a family. And we migrated to Australia, settling first in Sydney, then in Melbourne, and finally on a small farm in the northeast of Victoria, the south of Australia. A short ride from Ned Kelly country, in fact. I was the youngest, and when I was 12, having fulfilled the state education requirements at 12, I left school. But as I was too small for heavy work, I used to spend time on the property and help the teacher part-time with her 8 grades of 30 pupils. I wanted to go to high school, and there was some talk of the possibility of a scholarship, but Father said that living away from home would be more than he could afford, and the rest of the family said I was needed on the farm. Father had bought the property in the flush of the season, followed by the abundant autumn fruits, grapes, peaches and apricots, followed by 3 years of drought when the rabbits moved in overnight. Over they came, over the hillside, eating the roots of the grasses and bearing the earth's bosom. There was not a living spring of water anywhere. Father was a travelling man with an all lines gold pass for a reputable London insurance firm. He loved books for their own sake. He loved the theatre for its own sake. He had a facile pen which included a genius for limericks. His name was Percy Brabazon. One weekend, Father came home and told us he had bought a second-hand bookshop in the huge city of Melbourne and would not have any more use for this farm. The Irish in me, of course, took this as a betrayal, but lightly. Deep down within me, another dreaming, though, was beginning its dream. But the Anglo-Saxon, which was mother, was wondering where the next loaf of bread was to come from. So we, the family, arrived in the city at the same time as the Depression. There was absolutely nothing for a boy from the country to do except, in the second-hand bookstore, read everything in the store. And that's exactly what I did for 10 years. I read everything in my father's second-hand bookstore in the lanes of Melbourne. Then a new world broke over my head, the world of sound and music. I put the books back neatly on the shelves. They had given me their message. Out of this were created new song forms, and out of them new ways of sweeping a floor, new ways of boiling a potato. There was a man people were calling the Avatar. He had a little old place there down on Love Street. He was a dispenser of Suffolk vintages. He used to make his disciples just a little bit drunk and then tell them about the divine beloved who lives in their hearts. Such was the human glory which shone from his eyes that the young men started to flock around him, picking up the choruses of the divine melodies. There's no end to this biographical tale, actually, especially since in my case, there has not yet really been much of a beginning. Francis Brabazon. For a little more practical detail, Bernard Francis Brabazon was born in England January 24th, 1907. And we know the story about the farm. The family settled on a farm, then got a bookstore in Melbourne. Francis had a very close relationship with his father, and he once said that they were like brothers, actually. His father had been a drama critic for newspapers, and there was a strong early background of literature. By his early teens, Francis found that the priests could not answer any of his questions, so he became disillusioned with the faith. In the early 30s, Francis came to Melbourne, aiming to educate himself, and this was the height of the Depression. For a time he modelled for artists in classes at the Melbourne Art Gallery, where he met the young John Bruford, who was a student at the art school. At times he had to go on SUSO, sustenance relief by the government, which was not handed out freely like today's dole is. Recipients were required to work for it, and one job he had was picking up stones in paddocks. A lack of money was no deterrent to Francis, his pursuit of an all-round education. He helped himself freely to books from his father's shop, but he also helped himself freely from books from other shops, which he would neatly wrap in brown paper, take home, read, and then return them the next morning wrapped in brown paper like new. He learned the piano. One of the flats he shared, the apartments he shared, was known as the dump. And although it lacked comforts and conveniences, John Bruford bought a piano, and with a homemade haul, they hauled it up onto the second floor, and there it was. He also took amateur wrestling and weightlifting, and at one stage achieved an unofficial Australian record for wrestling. In the mid-30s, Francis met Baron von Frankenberg, who was a Sufi teacher from the school of Inayat Khan. The Sufi group included many who later came to Baba. Francis was trained to eventually succeed the Baron as Sheikh. Francis was drafted into the army, where he had to peel a lot of potatoes. He managed to get out fairly quickly, thank goodness. He was short and he had no aptitude for shooting. His old habit of asking questions, to which there was sometimes a silly answer, did not fit into the military life. In 1947, the Baron gave Francis Baba's discourses to read. He was extremely impressed and wanted to meet Baba, but Baba was in seclusion. The Baron was also impressed, but did not actually accept Baba as the avatar at that time. However, from 1947 onwards, readings from Baba were included in the Sufi meetings at that time. Finally, the Baron gave Francis a ticket to California, USA, so that he could meet the Baron's own master, Rabia Martin, whom Inayat Khan had appointed. The Baron died in 1950, and eventually the Sufi material was recalled by Francis, and the group studied only Baba's books. In 1948, Francis acquired land in Beacon Hill at first, and he stayed on the land and pitched a tent, but finally built a gorgeous house of stone called Maher House in Sydney. Soon the group realised that Francis was determined to build this house and have meetings in it. There's other details that don't really, of people we don't know here. In 1954, Baba called Francis to India, where he accompanied Baba on the Andhra Pradesh tour. This is described in A Journey with God. This was the year of the special men's visit, which many Australians were invited to but had declined. Francis selected a property in Queensland finally on Keel Mountain called Avatars Road by Baba himself. And as the visit is well documented, we won't mention much about it here. Baba eventually sent for Francis, who went to live in India as a Mandali for 10 years. He lived in very close contact with Baba under close supervision. He did a tremendous amount of writing, and the major work of that writing, being Stay with God, was published while Francis was in India. He kept up regular correspondence with the Australian group, which many might have read in the Australian newsletter. Soon after the Great Darshan of 69, he returned to Australia and lived the rest of his life at Avatar's abode, with occasional short visits to India in January each year with his group. He continued to write and was loved by all of the generations of Baba lovers around him. Those who sought his company were introduced to the delights of literature, music, art, and spiritual writing, as well as the feel of Meher Baba as conveyed by one who had such close contact with him. Jai Meher Baba. So I thought it would be nice to for someone to open reading a poem. Did someone select a poem they would like to read?
There are a couple of hands up, and I think what I'm going to do is ask Roshni to go first because she's in India, and I think it's getting late. So if you'd like to share what you have, Roshni, your hands up.
Jai Baba. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruth. Jai Baba, everyone. So, this is a small something and it's connected to Francis Brabazon. And I just felt to share. So, about 2 years back, on just before New Year, before leaving for Mehrabad, I was cleaning my old childhood house where I was born and brought up. None of my parents or anybody in the family is connected to Baba in any which ways ever in my life. And there were some of my school books and things that I've still preserved. So every time I go there, I just keep on shuffling the books, putting them again together and, kind of doing things. And that day I did the same with the books, which I have done maybe several times before and, flipping them open and stuff. But there was the pile that I took out from the cupboard. Suddenly I see Baba's face peeping out of, the books. And I was like, what is that? So I pulled it out and this greeting card was there in my Radiant Reader book of class 2, which I still have. And I was like, oh, wow, what is this card? Like, and how did it land up here? Because nobody, and it is, if you can see little of the sides, it's torn. It is very, the old part of it, little edges are torn. Something was stuck onto it. So it's been, pulled out. And I wondered where this card came from. Then I opened it, and this was exactly 4 days before New Year. So we were leaving on 30th for Mehrabad. This was on 26th of December. And it said, wishing you our very own joyous Meher year. It was a New Year card made by the Glow magazine. But what was more interesting then was on the left-hand side, there was something written called Master and Friend. And I would read that out, where Meher Baba asks Francis Brabazon, how goes your mood? Where goes your food? How is your health? Where is your wealth? How are you, son? What have you done? Hold fast to my skirt, but dare you not flirt. To me you are dear. Love me without fear. You have come very near. By coming over here, stay with me till end. I am master and friend. And on the right hand side, Francis Brabazon replies to Meher Baba, oh Baba, let you become the only one I love, here on earth and above. Let you become my only thought, all others are too dearly bought. Let you become my sole dear desire, all others are but burning fire. Let you become my only hope, all others are a hangman's rope. You are my God, but since you are my friend, give me the strength to hold on to the end, and let me come again each time you come to love and serve you. I want no other home. Mehrazad, August 6th, 1959. So this New Year card was of 1959. And the other last part of the humor of this card was that it is completely empty. It is totally empty. And I wondered if it was ever sent to any of my family, then something would have been written, dear so and so, my mother, father, this one, that one. It was totally empty, not a single scratch of pen. And Baba's humor just stumped me as to where the heavens did it fall from and come into my radiant reader. And till now, I do not know where this card came from, but I hold it there and it is right in front of my bedside where all Baba books are kept. So Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. And like Francis said, may Baba be our only thought, our only desire, and may we come again and again as he pleases to love and serve him. Jai Meher Baba. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Jai
Thank
Baba.
you so much. That was beautiful. Wow. Wow. Where did that card come from, huh? Well, I'm going to ask Noreen if she'd like to share.
Jay Baba, what a wonderful story, Roshni. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, the Francis poem that I most like is one that Jeff Wolverton sometimes sings. So I'd just like to ask Jeff if he's going to sing the one about it, although I lie prostrate. Oh, he's not. Sorry.
No, that's I dwell in dust. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
So
give it a try if I can get the words.
okay, all right. Then I will read a different one then.
Oh, well, no, either way.
Okay, well, actually, I'll read it so that if you sing it, it'll be extra wonderful. And if you aren't able to find those words, then they will have heard this poem. It's my most favorite. I dwell in dust and sing, and my song is most sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. I would not wish to be less than the seasons which wait their turn, nor than fire hidden in wood to burst into life and burn. My beloved spins the earth on the tip of one finger. Why should I cry for gifts? He will not forget his singer. They who ask God to fulfill their desires have no faith in him, for the essence of faith is to abide the beloved's whim. I hold out my cup for him to fill at his pleasure. Now or at world's end, it will be the same full measure. Waiting is easy for me. I spent 1,000,000 years as a stone, and then millions more, shaping my ears to receive song's golden tone. Now my waiting is praising, and my praising is sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. Jai Baba.
Jay Baba. That is a favorite. Thank you. And I see Tim's hand.
I thought I would sing it for you, seeing as she just recited it and you have some idea about it. If that is all right. Shall I sing it?
Yes, please.
Well, in those days, of course, it was difficult to do anything, write anything around Francis, because there wasn't anything he couldn't really do, even mastery of wheelbarrow moving. But eventually we started listening to a lot of world music from his massive, huge world music LP collection. And we got into Greek music, a lot of Greek music, Theodorakis, so on. So I borrowed a 7/4 tune, made it into 4/4 and 3/4 on different verses, and it happened to be Ghazal 83, I dwell in dust and sing. I dwell in dust and sing, and my song is most sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. I would not wish to be less than the seasons which wait their turn, nor than fire hidden in wood to burst into life and burn. I dwell in dust and sea,
For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. My beloved spins the earth on the tip of one finger. Why should I cry for gifts? He will not forget his singer. They who ask God to fulfill their desires have no faith in him, for the essence of faith is to abide the beloved's will. I hold out my cup for him to fill at his pleasure. Now or at world's end, it will be the same full measure. Waiting is easy for me. I spent 1,000,000 years a stone, then millions more shaping my ears to receive song's golden tone. Now my waiting is praising, my praising is sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. Yes, my waiting is praising, my praising is sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. I'd also like to say that this song is sort of the essence of Francis. He was definitely from the school of not asking, not praying, not feeling blessed, the school of not. But he was also from the school of do not give up. So he walked that fine line in his guzzles of beating his head about, and yet certainty was more his thing, not hope. In fact, he has several guzzles. Give up hope. Be certain. Jai Baba.
That song certainly is an inspiration, the way you sing it. Thank you so much, Raine.
Thank you.
Hey, Baba. I'm excited that I got to hear it. Kim? You have something?
I do. I'd like to sing The Journey.
Yeah.
Francis's words, Erwin Luck's melody. I know where I'm going. You may come along too, if your heart is knowing much, much more than you do. If you will never regret and remain staunch and true, if you'll keep the secret of what your heart tells you. We'll ride in our hearts, that's much faster than any plane, to ends of earth apart, yet where we are remain. We'll see streams and deserts flowing for many and many a mile, and lovely flowers in dust growing because of someone's smile. The journey is a long one, from here to the most distant star, and it's finished right now. For love is where you are. You don't have to go any further to find your heart's bright cheer. For love is Meher Baba, and he's not there but here. And oh, he is so bonny, and oh, he is so fine. Who loves him not is a dreamer, and though has eyes is blind. He is so very bonny, so winsome that one sigh of mine for him has broken my heart. Oh, I would die. J. Baba.
J. Baba, Tim. That was gorgeous.
How about you, Jeff? Oh, somebody. Jeff,
Yeah.
you there?
I think Jeff's still here.
Oh,
I think he has a little different rendition. I don't know, Jeff, if you do or not.
Let's wait down the program a little bit.
all right.
I think people have been dwelling just a little too long, too frequently.
Thank you.
Francis's version was I know where I'm going, and you may come along too. If your heart is knowing much, much more than you do. But it turned out that Baba wrote to Irwin and asked Irwin if he would tune the whole of, mind you, Let Us the People Sing, when Let Us the People Sing came out. So Baba writes to Irwin. Irwin finds a woman who nicely notated everything for him, and he did just that and sent them off to India. So Francis's little melodies became secondary at that point, although when Francis came back in 1969, he taught us all these melodies, and also various people wrote melodies. In the meantime, I just found out from a recent interview with Irwin Luck that Baba then wrote to Irwin and asked Francis if he could get hold of a book that Francis was looking for that he'd left behind called Love Songs of the Caribbean. And so Irwin did find this book and sent it over at Baba's request to Francis. And so on the 28th of January, if you join me, I shall also do a nice 2-hour concert of love songs of the Caribbean, or the South American and Latin American songs that Francis tuned and taught Sam and I to use the medium as well. But this little book, Let Us the People Sing, with The Journey, Mayher's Necklace, Someone, they're the most lovely poems. I believe someone's been reading them at Artie in the mornings quite a bit. So usually it's like 25 cents at most Baba bookstores these days. And The Journey is contained within that.
Thank you. Well, I see Chris Barker has his hand up. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, I've got a story involving Francis. And if you've heard me tell this before, please forgive me, but it's a good story. At the 69 Darshan, on the Darshan program was in the morning and we had the afternoons free. But one afternoon we were all taken in buses around to the Baba places in Pune, to the hospital where he was born and Babazon Shrine. And then we wound up eventually at Pumpkin House. And so we went to into Baba's house there, and there was Jal, his brother Jal had a bookstore. And so there were 250 of us in this group, large group. And most of the people wanted to go into Jal's bookstore and buy a Baba book over there in India at the Darshan. So the line was so long that I didn't go in that day. But the next day, I and a couple of people went back to Baba's house in the afternoon, got a rickshaw and went over there. And I went into Jal's bookstore thinking I would get a Baba book, but it had been picked clean by the big group the day before. But there were a handful, literally just a handful of books left on half of one shelf. So I bought a couple of Baba books, paid Jal for them, and walked outside. And I was standing there by that well out there in the courtyard. And I opened up, one of the books was Stay with God. And I opened it up. And to my surprise, this is what I found. It was signed by Baba. So I was stunned, and I went back in and I told Jal, I said, Jal, this must be some kind of mistake. And Jal was equally taken aback and stunned. And he said, after a moment or two, he said, no, this book was meant for you. So that's been my treasure. Well, the next day, the next day, I heard in the next room, in the Amir Hotel, I heard in the next room Francis Brabazon talking with somebody. And so I walked in with that book, Stay with God, and walked in there to the room and opened it up to that title page where Baba had signed it and held it out and showed it to Francis. And Francis said, "Oh no, I can't sign this. Baba signed this." And I said, "Oh no, I didn't mean for you to sign it. I just wanted to show you this book that I'd gotten." And Francis was very, very intrigued with it. And he said, Baba said that he only signed his books. So whatever you take that to mean, that's what Francis, that was his take on that. So that's my Francis story. Also, I was about a month after the Darshan, I got drafted and I wound up in Vietnam. I think I beat Jim Meyer there, but I was over there in Vietnam and we had, all of the soldiers were given 1 week of vacation. I took my week of vacation. I went to Australia. And so I was able to meet Francis Brabazon and the LePage family and visit with them at that house there in Beacon Hill outside of Sydney. So it was a wonderful experience to see Francis again at that time. So Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
And Raine, where's your signed copy?
Oh, all my books are signed. So it turned out that in one of my marriages to one of these beautiful Baba men, all three of my husbands are remarkable Baba men, Stephen Hine, Jack Mormon, and Bill Gannett. Jack Mormon, my second marriage, he was the first, I'll quote this, archivist. And I met him in 72, 73, and as fast as the Mandali were trying to rip up curtains for bandages and that, he would grab them and take them and bring them all back to California. He archived at an alarming rate. He was also the trustwalla for California, Northern California. And at one point, Marnie came out with a beautiful old tin that had belonged to Sheriar at the toddy shop. And she said to Jack, sell these coins that belong to Sheriar for fundraising for the trust, because in 1972-73 the trust was pretty broke after court cases and all sorts of things they'd gone through. And so Jack also sold the coins. I have one of Sheriar's own coins he held in his pocket. You could buy real silver Queen Victoria rupees from this tin for donations to the trust. So I was sort of educated very early in archiving, which at the time, I might add, I thought was all a bit precious and silly. But anyway, by the time I married Jack, I kind of got it that Francis had trained me, actually. When we talk about training, I don't know. But anyway, as an example, to always date everything, always make your little songbooks something that you can have page numbers on, that you can refer back to, that have a footnote story on the bottom of them. And some of them are as old as me, and we won't go into that today because I share a birthday with Francis. It's my birthday too. And so I became very, very thorough at this whole thing of archiving, keeping, noting, marking, the scribe in a sense. And so Francis started to buy me these little exercise books. So as when one was full, he'd hand me the next, and they were recorded. Everything is recorded from 69 to whenever in these little books. Anyway, so I met Jack Mormon and archiving. That's where I was going, wasn't I, with archiving?
That and Stay with God.
And Stay with God. So when I met Jack in 1979, or re-met Jack in 1979, it turned out that we really got along well and everything. And I got back to Australia and I got a letter with an offer of money and a plane ticket, and I became a mail order bride. And so, of course, I was totally bored with being a gemologist and telling everyone how rich they were and driving up to the abode every Friday night and back every Sunday. And this life I had, I had a beautiful little cubby with 3 other women at Avatar's abode to stay every weekend. I mentioned to Francis, this fellow, you remember him, he was always collecting things and getting books and first edition books and everything. Francis goes sort of yawn, yes, I remember him. I said, well, he's proposed to me and he's an accountant and he lives in California. And Francis said, go along, girl. It's about to end here. And I didn't really sort of get it at the time, but anyway, so I wrote back and said yes. But then he wrote back and said, all right, give me your phone number. So he rings me and he says, so the thing you have to do is get every single Francis Brabazon book. Just quickly go into the room and say, please sign these. And I did. And they are all signed. Every book from as far back as Proletarian's Transition, even right through to The Silent Word. Every book is signed. So yes, I do have a signed Stay with God.
I thought you had one copy that was signed by Baba.
That is, Jack has the Mayor Baba, MS Irani, and Stay with God. Jack, actually in the last 5 years, has always taken someone to India with him with 4 suitcases, and he has taken his entire archival collection back to India, much to the Wilds and Janet's and everybody's delight. Everything he collected is now back in India, except my 3 coins, of course, but everything else from the coin collection.
Chris, this is Bill speaking. He took everything back except for what I stole from his collection. And I have several suitcases here in my possession, and which not even Raine knows about, in fact, and which I will decide as to what happens to them all in due time.
Well,
We can talk about that later.
okay. Now nobody knows except you and me and everybody on the internet.
Exactly.
Now, these 2 naughty boys, Chris and Bill, they are Austin, Texas fellows. Bill went to Austin, Texas to do Persian. I think Chris was a geologist, am I right, in Austin, Texas, and did geology there. And they go way back. They have naughty nicknames for each other and all sorts of things, but definitely well-honed Brabazon fans.
Back to the 70s. That's right.
Yeah.
How wonderful to be part of this.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Somebody just chatted that today is also Bal Natu's birthday.
That's right, Bal Natu, yes.
And before we forget, happy birthday, Raine.
Oh, thank you.
Should we all sing? Okay, if everybody wants to unmute and sing, you're welcome to do it because it's always a cacophony, but let's do it anyway.
Happy
birthday
To you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Raine. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Baba's love.
Well, thank you very much. I must say, although, as you know, I don't tell my age. Mira asked me never to tell my age, and so I don't tell my age. But I have to say that the birthday was always upstaged. So where I worked at this jewelry store as a gemologist, next door was a little cookie and cake or famous place called the Shingle Inn. So Francis had he acquired through me a taste for these little jam-filled shortbreads that I would bring up in a box from the Shingle Inn for our birthdays, and a cake and a spit roasted chicken. This was our luxury of the year. It was Francis's and my birthday. And the other thing that he liked was a little, someone said Francis drank. Francis didn't drink. Francis actually had a nip of something. He'd like a nip of port or a nip of a liqueur in a little glass. So his favorite liqueur was chartreuse. So I would bring up a little bottle of chartreuse and we'd all have a drop in our cup with our Shingle Inn heart-shaped jam, shortbread and a piece of cake and chicken on the 24th of January. A real luxury in those days.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds yummy. Well, Betty Lohman has something she'd like to share, so I'm going to go ahead and ask her to do so. And remind
right.
everybody that, we have a raise hand option, and it's in the chat. If you open your chat, you'll see how to do it. And we'd love to have others share. But go ahead, Betty. Glad you're here.
This poem was one of my old favorites from the East-West Gathering. The moon was low, a silver sickle on a field of blue, when I met you and loved you with a love I could not. Are you hearing? I think my phone's ringing. How do I do this? I'm reading it on my phone. All right, I'll start over again. Cross my finger. The moon was low, a silver sickle on a field of blue, when I met you and loved you with a love I could not know would break my heart. All I knew was that I would go with you to world's end, for I was your shadow. The night was clear, your eyes were stars within 2 drops of dew when I met you and loved you with a love that had no fear, though it broke my heart. All I knew was that I had to bear journey to world's end. Should you so choose to steer, may her my love, may her my love. Mm. Mm.
J. Barber, this song from the East-West Gathering is amongst the 8 sorts of lovers. And as you all know, with the East-West Gathering, it had to be written in something like 2 months with 29 songs. This book is probably one of the most remarkable books. I highly recommend memorizing this. In my family, memorization was their poverty-stricken, or my mother's family, way to peace. They memorized everything, and so memorizing is my meditation. Tina, my friend, will know all about the arts and craft of memorizing and how totally satisfying it can be. And in that book is contained something rather remarkable that Jung would have loved, the 8 sorts of lovers. The 8 sorts of lovers, or the 8 types, go way beyond characterization for us. They're astonishing. There are 8 sorts of lovers: the desirers, the workers, the resigners, the builders, the simple praisers, the quiet dwellers, the proclaimers, and the servers. The resigners desire nothing whatsoever from their king. When he shows himself through the city, they're happy. When he remains in the palace, they are equally happy. Their pleasure is in whatever the king does. Desiring nothing, work and idleness are equal to them. They never seek work. But if a worker comes and takes one of them along to some job, he works happily until it is done. But it's only a time pass. They would go to the ends of the earth for their king if he asked them to. The moon was low, a silver sickle on a field of blue, when I met you and loved you with a love I could not know would break my heart. All I knew was I would go with you to world's end, for I was your shadow. The night was clear, your eyes were stars within 2 drops of dew, when I met you and loved you with a love that had no fear, though it broke my heart. All I knew was I would go journeying to world's end, should you so choose to steer. May her my love, may her my love. And so in that song, that version, the first version, we see where the love songs of the Caribbean came in handy, that Barber had asked Irwin for 2 years before. And eventually, of course, was the beautiful Michaela Fowler's brother's version of When I Met You, which Francis preferred, and we got to sing instead of the swallow tune. Thank you, Betty.
Yes, I prefer the other version as well. It's just
Yeah.
so.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, we have no hands up. I did see, I saw that Karen and Alan are here. Albert, I don't know if they have anything that they'd like to share. I would just put it out there. You're not on camera, so you might not be available, but just wonder if Alan or Karen have anything. Okay. Well, while you think about that, I see that we have Rosalie. Hey, Baba Rosalie.
Jai Baba. These are three short things that I love so much. The first one I love because when evangelists would come to my door, I wanted to have something good to share with them. So I love this that Brabazon, he wrote, love of God and knowledge of truth have always been spread through art, never by evangelism. Evangelism is message minus beauty of form, and so is no message. God, man is beauty itself. But they don't come to my door anymore since I memorized that. The other I love, man is born and dies and is reborn until he dies into the deathless and is never born again. But one man, being birthless and deathless, takes birth again and again because of the cry of the world for relief from the burden of living, and to mirror himself in the tears of his lovers. And this little one, I think it's so perfect, a description of sharing joy. It says, we met, exchanged greetings, and went on laughing. In each one's laughter was news of the beloved. Jai Baba.
Wonderful collection, Rosalie. I think I'll print them and put them at my door too. Once this goes on YouTube, I'll take a note of them just in case some converter or proclaimer comes to the door to convert me. Possible after 53 years.
The last one again.
Yeah, read the last one again.
Last one, so beautiful.
You mean about
Yeah.
we met?
Yeah.
We met, exchanged greetings, and went on laughing. In each one's laughter was news of the beloved. And Raine, there was also one that I says something about art. I couldn't find it, but it's something Baba and art and filling the space of the heart. Something like, does that bring anything to mind?
Art is a practice of devotion?
No, it's just one. It's one line.
Oh,
It's so beautiful. I just have to find it sometime. It may come up. It may come up. It is so utterly expansive, describing Baba's art.
is it a ghazal or a poem?
I don't know. I mean, I just caught it when I caught it, and then I wrote it down, and I loved it. And I don't have it at hand at the moment, but it's. I wish I could. If I remember the beginning of it, I'll it's in there somewhere. Yeah.
In a lot of the poems, Francis goes into Baba's making it new and refers to art, and art will become our new, the arts will become our new way. It won't be capitalism or commercialism or any of those things. The arts will become the new way. And it brings to mind a ghazal that Sam has put to melody that I've been practicing. very much Francis. You know, Francis once said, when someone said one of our members was a lawnmower salesman, and Francis said, wouldn't it be better if there was one lawnmower at the end of every street and everybody had a day to use the lawnmower instead of 27 lawnmowers? And instead of handouts, wouldn't it be better not to have any poor? Instead of locks, wouldn't it be better not to have any doors? Childish questions, yes, but I've been wondering, did Jesus' lilies set gates up or hold out a petal for food? Perhaps Jesus' lilies were sillies. They raised banners, their faces high, and marched over the hill, but they carried no slogans. They were only playing a drill. Wouldn't it be grand if there were no poor and no food-clothes donors, but all were rich and strove in friendly strife for poverty's honours? Marching to the city of love, to the beloved's palace, sweeping the steps with eyebrows to force him to show his face. And there he is, sitting in the diamond hall, welcoming everyone, and his feet white as mountain snow and his face shining like the sun. From such a world I would never wish to be absent for long. Men and women and children, like lilies of the field, full of song. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. So fine. So beautiful. What an amazing man we're talking about. All right. Jack, you've been patient. You have something to share?
Yeah, how are you, everybody? Oh, there's Ann. Hi, Ann. And Raine, it's been, what, 30 years since you and I have been in the same space. You're doing well.
We're always in the same space.
Yeah, true. This is a guzzle I wrote because Francis is kind of a poet that I admire greatly. And this is called In Praise of Francis Brabazon. Oh, beloved, once you said with adamant flair, all words to me are nothing. But duality still rules the world, and we despair until you unleash your poets to make our hearts sing. And so it is that you set my hand in motion to praise one of your own, who you infused with praise of you, with such a powerful potion. His words clear the air, and no longer need we be confused. Who are love's poets or a poetess? Are they the ones who think in music or act out on the stage of paper? Or whose dance is the movement of pen and hand, the result of which would stand time's ephemeral vapors? So are you open to a poetic flair? Perhaps a feeling here or there, unavailable to those who through life have dozed, eyes and ears, hearts and tears, these ducts that remain somehow closed. For poetry is truth in motion, a liquid likeness of a universal notion, beautiful and fair, as long as love is in residence there. O you of a mind to mentate a word, neither catch the fleeting glance nor will be heard the echo of yourself in budding rhyme, until one's heart is touched and torn by time. Such is the way for those of vision slanted, who take love and life for granted, barreling through expressions hidden, their history a life better never been written. For poetry is harmony in action, for that of the heart knows no faction, a dance of pen and hand, whose words and music seek to land and unlock the heart and enrich the mind with treasures that only love can find. whose music paints the colors of the celestial spheres, evoking feelings that may lead to tears, and help us climb love's ladder's rung to filter out the cacophony of babbling tongues. Who is this one that dares us uncover the truth of ourselves with syllables of poetic music amidst the prodding like mischievous elves, whose shout in the main goes unheard among the lies of the living? Must he wait for us to be his herald, only when we lay a flower on his grave, as though his poetry is no longer giving? Such is this man drowned in love's fire, process truth's words so as to inspire the duty to serve the only one who exists, to help forget ourselves through, though Maya persists, such a life that he led to the master's door, that we who follow can endure his words forevermore. O singers and wordsmiths to my song, listen to this one and what he says, for his words are truer than ever before. His rhyme is pure and his love is mine, a way to lead you to my door. Thank you.
Jai Baba. Thank you so much, Jack.
Welcome.
Beautiful. Always, Jack. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
here we go.
Baba once said, you have written well
Thank you.
through my pen, Francis. Baba said that Francis's words were his words poetically.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Martha, would you like to share something, Martha?
Yes, I'm reading from The Beloved is All in All. And everyone in the world wants everyone else to applaud him, yet nobody knows that the show is all by the beloved's whim. When the curtain goes up, no one, from the gods to the stalls, thinks of the sweat and tears poured out at the rehearsals. The beloved is the ancient one, who was before the beginning desiring music. He ordered the stars to come forth and start singing. So ancient, yet so amazingly new, that even in our clearest moments of seeing, our pattern-impressed minds cannot catch a hint of his always becoming being. It is rumored along Love Street that soon he will give a new twist to the production, something never before done, to which there will be a startling audience reaction. But as ever, the dust will remain singing before the wine shop door. Only when he opens it and pours wine again will it cry, encore. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. What a remarkable book. Thank you so much, Martha. This book, I mean, In Dust I Sing is, you know, if you really want to get your head and heart massaged into shape as the seeker, as the truths, as the unusual couplet after couplet come together. And they were all read to Meher Baba from In Dust I Sing. It always reminds me of a line in East-West Gathering, "Ho, my little singer, how bold you have become." Because poor Francis had to write a ghazal a day. But he would have Alibert translate a Hafiz ghazal in the night and say, have a go at that. Because Baba was creating a new form, an English language ghazal form, through the resident Mandali poet. So he'd come up with these ghazals each day, like cringing, you know. Baba said, read, from now on, don't read the Hafiz 3 times, Alibert. Francis, you read your ghazal 3 times. Francis was a short man, humble in stature, Irish, plain of features. He knew this. He talks about it a lot in his poetry. And he just was crushed by this statement that Hafiz would be read once and his poem 3 times. And Baba said, be kind, Francis. I'm memorizing them for when I return. And so in The Beloved is All in All, these were, it was a book he was working on before he became ill, and his memory was, it wasn't going, it was just becoming more and more diffusive. There's, a lot of debate these days whether it was Alzheimer's or one of the other unusual cross-linking dementias. But, he was really, when we returned for the last 2 years of his life from California back to Australia, he was quite cognitive in many areas, even after he moved from Baba's house into the cabin they built him. But this he wanted published, and I feel really a lot of them were reworked and saved from 62, 63, which all of them were pretty much written from. And then there were little rhymes and poems. Hopefully this book will be set out like in Dust I Sing one day. But also included in it were very old pieces and also some very new pieces. The 3 ghazals that are in A Singing to the Eternal Beloved, the last piece Francis wrote for Baba in 1968 for his birthday, is a song medley A through F. A beautiful song medley. And it's a rare book, but many of us have it, and signed, Chris. And so in it are 3 remarkable ghazals. They're so remarkable. They're sort of like the whole of God Speaks and In Dust I Sing, and the discourses all in 3 ghazals. And in this book, they're page 71, 72, and 73. And they are exquisite. They roll onto one another, and in between them is like a little choral piece, in A Singing to the Eternal Beloved. But I was really pleased that they got included in The Beloved is All in All, page 71, 72 and 73, because they were pretty much probably 1968 February, very current ghazals written for Baba, Jai Baba.
Excuse me, is there a way to know, like, there's no beginning or end, or do you just begin and end wherever you want?
No, that's why I say it's a badly set out book, and I'm happy to send you what our dear Sam did for us. He alphabetized it the same as in Dust I Sing. In fact, I'll scan it and put it up.
First line.
By the first line. Francis, in the Dust I Sing, all the poems are by the first line. So what you just read was the page number ghazal, but we can't call it that, right? Because we have ghazal 1 through 150, which we've already memorized. Ghazal 35, Because of Love. Ghazal 5, Do Not Give Up. We already have them memorized by numbers. So we got into the habit of calling these ghazals by the first line. But anyway, we have this beautifully alphabetized, and I'm happy to scan it and put it up on Circle for people. And so each page is a ghazal complete.
Thank you.
And the poems, yeah.
That would be so cool. That's very cool. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of effort. And Rosalie, did you remember?
Yeah, I did. So Raine, this is what I remember. It says, his art contains all space within the human heart, the place of singing and the place of pain, the place of awaiting his true grace's reign.
Yes, that's the Word at World's End. It's in the 40 stanzas of the Word at World's End. In my John Isaacs, if he's here and up at 4 a.m., has memorized these. Dreams of Wet Pavements, the first poem in the Word at World's End, and the wonderful late Richard Lockwood had put some of this to melody too. And God, numb our minds and stop the pain of loneliness. Peace like soft rain fall and wash away the rubbed-in pain. Tomorrow we must march again. This is a remarkable book. And it starts out, Rano was typing this book. Rano had to type 4 and 20 Blackbirds, which, as we know, is absolutely fun. And I mean, it's satire. It's not really nursery rhymes. Where the heck is it? 4 and 20 Blackbirds? We have it here somewhere. Anyway, in 4 and 20 Blackbirds, we have sort of satire upon satire of the nursery rhymes. which aren't very nice little things anyway. They're actually quite catty little things about kings and queens and politics, nursery rhymes. There's up there the little shortest book. And so Rano had been typing up 4 and 20 blackbirds over there. And so right after that, what gets written in 62 is The Word at World's End. So The Word at World's End, the opening poem, Dreams of Wet Pavements, is absolutely what's happening today. And it is quite the amazing tale of the world without enough protection for its people. And so, you know, poor Rano went from little Jack Horner sat in the corner, little Tommy Tupper must sing for his supper, and pity 1, pity 2, pity 3, the wine cellar sent them out to sing you a ditty. Oranges and lemons, godlings and demons, you'll pay the last farthing, so Jesus said. You'll pay the last farthing, for you are my darling, and I'll make you dead drunk before I chop off your head. Really cute little rhymes in this to this. And so the first poem in this, Dreams of Wet Pavements, is a kind of a very different and unusual statement about the world and Big Fist and Big Fist's henchmen and on and on. But he gets to the end of it after taking us every which way to the dawn breaks for us on high, plateau beneath a cold glass sky, where even vultures do not fly, to roam like beasts with a wordless cry. The emptiness is a steel vice, which holds us till we pay the price our lives have fixed. Across our heart's ice, God-man stumbles with his huge cross. So he ends it with a lot of hope, and then he goes into various other amazing poems, the Elegy for Young Poets, the Ballad of the Rhyming Knight, which Jim sang a great version of a few weeks ago. After the Flood of Our Desolation has some glorious bohemian, new, wonderful images. But he closes it with something so extraordinary, which we in Australia have all memorized, called Hymn to God the Man. Hymn to God the Man. Beloved God, all the earth is singing you in the impermanent materials of stone, leaf and heart, singing you, yearning towards your reaping. God, the Father of the Son of yourself, whole God, perfect man, cherisher of the sap in all things, destroyer of the worn out and the false of all things, releaser of the love in all things. And this piece is magnificent, and in the middle of it, what do we have? How beautiful you are. What a dreaming in the dawn is your brow. What oceans of love are your eyes. What music of our new singing is in your throat. What a proud new architecture is in your hands. How perfectly shaped are your feet for our beyond journeying. Just a glorious, glorious wind through. It's not that long. It's actually quite easy to learn. And it's just tucked away in a little seemingly modern poetry book at the end. Hymn to God.
Rosalie, would it be a problem? Would you be able to type in that beautiful piece that you just read into the chat?
Not,
Hassle?
which one you mean they met?
Art.
No, the one about the one you just read about art.
Oh, about art. Yeah. Yeah.
Long?
I wanted to add one thing. I had this talk with Elizabeth Patterson one time, and she said that Baba told her not to read God Speaks, but she was to read Stay with God, I think it was. Yeah, she said it was a heart version of God Speaks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I've heard that too.
Also, talking of the development of the ghazal and the leading on from that, at the East-West gathering, Baba asked the audience to listen to a ghazal that he had Francis do a version of. Baba translated the ghazal, the Hafez ghazal. We don't have the number of it, I'm sorry, Mahu, but you'll probably know from the English, your English is so good, the modern English version, which one it might be. And Baba had Francis read this out at the East-West gathering to say to people, this could be your first idea in good English of how Hafez might be and move us. Oh, that's not it. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is. It's here. It's actually contained, the story is contained in Ross Keating's, Ross Keating's biography is actually his thesis for his PhD using Francis Brabazon stories and poems, but the opening of it has some marvelous aspects to it, and I'm just trying to find this. Here it is here. So Baba said, a more explicit exercise in Brabazon's tutelage in the ghazal of Hafez occurred in Pune, November 1962, during the occasion of the East-West gathering. At this time, Meher Baba gave a first draft English translation of a Hafez poem to Francis to versify into a tighter form with rhyme. When Brabazon had completed the task, Meher Baba asked him to read out the fruits of his effort to the large group of Westerners who were present for the East-West gathering, and said this was the first time that many of them had heard Hafez recited in clear, meaningful English language, as Baba had wished. Not only Brabazon, but all his Western followers to have some experience of the ghazal in 1962 of this master poet. And here is the versification which Francis read to the people at the East-West gathering. Although you have not received from love's garden, one day this desert will become a garden, so be not grieved. Oh, Mahu, it's one of the Be Not Grieved poems. I think there's like 5 Hafez Be Not Grieved. Although you have not received from love's garden, one day this desert will become a garden, so be not grieved. Do not turn your heart away, nor expostulate against the beloved, but bear your present state, and be not grieved. Let this disgusted mind and troubled heart be stilled. One day desire for union will be fulfilled, so be not grieved. Behind the curtain, a secret game is being played that you know not, so don't give up or be dismayed or grieved. Once you have set out for the beloved's abode, do not let mere stones and thorns turn you from the road, or be much grieved. Maya, principle of illusion, will do her best to thwart your labour. But when you have a captain like Noah, you will reach safe harbour, so be not grieved. When this friend is the same as God, don't plague him with petitions. When this friend is the same as God, don't plague him with petitions, but suffer gladly love's rules, love's trials and conditions, and be not grieved. This is on page 228 and 229 of the modern Hafez, the poet of the silent word. Gradually, with Meher Baba's continued encouragement and subtle guidance, Brabazon became increasingly interested in the idea of creating the English language ghazal in the tradition of Hafez. Not only because it would be a new Western literary form of love poetry for him to explore, but also because it was his master's favourite poetry.
You know, Jim Meyer also did that song.
That's right, he did, yes. Where are you, Jim?
No, I wish I looked for him, but he's not here.
Oh, he ignores his emails in the morning, I see.
Oh, well, maybe he'll show. Be nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know who is here? Oh, Mariah.
Ah, yes, Mariah.
Mariah, do you have something you'd like to share?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm just hearing an echo.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I guess that won't work then if you hear an echo. Are you still hearing an echo?
It's much better. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to try to sing a song. These words came about when I was at the Heartland Center, and I saw these words, and they weren't attributed to Francis. And I didn't know for the longest time that it was actually one of his songs. It was from Let Us the People Sing. And I put it to music, and I'm sure there are other versions. So here it comes. I sang a song in early spring, a song each lover sings. Then summer came with its hot flame and burnt my young song's wings. I sang again a smoldering tune in a new key and fashion, till summer's heat turned to winter's sleet, and with it died my passion. And from the ashes of my song arose a phoenix singing, a song of flame of Mayor's name. To you this song I'm bringing, a song of flame, yet very cool as in an evening sky, a song that leaps yet love's seals keep, imprisoned in a sigh, a song of flame, no, a few drops from his flood of compassion that I've overspilled and my cup filled and drowned me in its ocean. And from the ashes of my song arose a phoenix singing, a song of flame of Mayor's name. To you this song I'm bringing. So listen kindly to my song. It's all I have to give you. These drops of flame of Mayor's name. When I have done, I'll leave you. I sang a song in early spring, a song each lover sings. Then summer came with its hot flame and burnt my young song's wings. And from the ashes of my song arose a phoenix singing, a song of flame of Mayor's name. To you this song I'm bringing. And from the ashes of my song arose a phoenix singing, a song of flame of Mayor's name. To you this song I'm bringing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Really. Happy birthday.
That was a great idea, Rosalie, to turn and from the ashes of my song arose a phoenix singing, a song of flame of Mayor's name. To you this song is bringing, repeated as a chorus, because it's such a gorgeous image. Thank you. That was fantastic.
No, I think I'm channeling giddy. I want to say play it again. Do it again. Do it again. So beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Maria.
you. Thank you. It's such a beautiful lyric. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard not to put to music. You just hope that you did it justice because Francis was such a poet of poets. So
Francis said one time we were at the Samadhi and someone did another version of Ghazal 1, and Francis said, and there was one in our group who was younger than the rest of us, and he was kind of like, it was wonderful. He was actually turned out to be the most intellectual of all of us, but he was always sort of innocent and the fall guy, and he said, they did it wrong. They did a wrong version. And Francis said, a poet couldn't be any happier if there was 100 versions of every ghazal.
that's great.
So there you go. It's fine.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah.
Who's next? I see Jeff there now. Are you ready, Jeff? Jeff Wolverton, you're on. Come out of the green room. Jeff.
I know. There he
Now
is.
can you hear me?
Yay!
Hey, what happened to?
We can't see you for some reason.
I don't know what happened. Oh, whoopsie daisy.
You're good.
You've got time. Plenty of time.
Okay.
This is a lovely 2-hour meeting.
Well, I'm reminded of something that Sigmund Freud said. In all my research into the unknown, I found a poet had been there before me. My thought about Francis, I never met Francis, but I felt if you ever see him bow before anyone, you can be sure it's God himself. That's from his readings. I dwell in dust and sing, and my song is most sweet. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. I would not wish to be less than the seasons which wait their turn, nor than fire hidden in wood to burst into life and burn. My beloved spins the earth on the tip of one finger. Why should I cry for gifts? He will not forget his singer. They who ask God for desires have no faith in him. For the essence of faith is to abide the beloved's whim. I hold out my cup to him, for him to fill at his pleasure. Nor at world's end it will be the same full measure. Waiting is easy. I spent 1,000,000 years as stone, and 1,000,000 more shaping love song's golden tone. Now my waiting is easy, and my praising is sweet. Oh, for although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat. For although I lie prostrate, I do not entreat.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Got the chords all fouled up, sorry.
Well, we don't know, Jeff. Don't apologize. They don't know. We don't know if you got the chords fouled up. We're listening to
Oh,
the
good.
bird. It was gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, these guzzles are all Hafez's guzzles don't necessarily tell a story. You know, each couplet can be separated and a story within itself, whereas the Brabazon guzzles tend to come to a conclusion. And there's a famous a ghazal in the by Rumi of the Men of God, and then Francis turns that into a modern story. He dedicates it to the musts, but his ghazals tell a story like I Dwell in Dust and Sing tells you a story. So he tries not to entreat. That's the point too. He lies prostrate and I do not entreat, but there's always that little diminished chord in there at the end where, well, you can try as much as you like, you end up entreating. You can't help but entreat. That's how that goes after 50 years of trying to overcome that problem. You can't overcome that problem. I thought it'd be fun. Everybody pretty much knows A Mighty Beloved, the wonderful talk that Francis gave at the 69 Darshan. But a lot of people don't know that there's a little song that goes with it. And I will read it to you because of reading The Mighty Beloved, where Francis is amazed and filled with joy to discover that the beloved I've been serving for so many years is truly a mighty beloved. You can find it everywhere online, The Mighty Beloved. Also, I'd like to mention that on avatarmayababa.org, 3 essays, one, The Songs of Francis Brabazon by myself, The Funeral of Francis Brabazon, and The Art of Francis Brabazon. In The Songs of Francis Brabazon, do get through to the end of it. It's an incredible path that us young ones were educated in, I suppose, with Francis for my 14 years with him. And I went to the Conservatoire of Music, so it was all tangled up with education in music as well. But we became actors. We did theatre courses in the round even to try and work our backs and all sorts of things. But anyway, this Butte song actually only surfaced once the Golden Book of Praise was published. Do get hold of your copy of the Golden Book of Praise. These are all songs by Francis. Many of those which are contained within The Being is Dying by Loving are Francis's own melodies. People tend to think he didn't write melodies. He was quite proficient on piano, quite proficient at sight reading, and had also invented his own notation with Mani and number system. But in Being is Dying by Loving, we have every melody is by Francis. The only place right now you can get that is on my CD, Being is Dying by Loving, and many of the essays are read out on that CD as well as the songs. But anyway, back to The Mighty Beloved and Amartithi, which is coming up. Sometimes by Francis Brabazon. Sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, a bit more man. I feel like a man upside down in a garbage can. Your goodness and your belovedhood are more than I can stand. I squirm like a worm turned up in the scorching sun. You are so much all God, such a beloved one. And that's why sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, a bit more man. You know, sometimes I think I'll go to another planet. Yep, that's it. Sometimes I think I'll go to another planet. One of the 18,000 which you never ever inhabit. Oh yeah, but I bet you'd turn up there looking more God, more beloved, more beautiful than ever. Sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, a bit more man. If only I could talk to you for once, man to man. For once not feel so upside down in a garbage can. If only I knew what you were talking about and not just squirm like a worm or laugh like a lout. Sometimes I wish you were a bit less God, a bit less beloved, a bit more man. when Francis speaks in broad country Australian, which of course we all had elocution at school, so we wouldn't do that, but you can get some great stuff, like from his own small biography, Wind of the Word, an amazing little book published by the late Diana Snow, who was part of the original Sufi group, goes way back with Francis, and often funded things that other people didn't have the money for. But Francis's accent, I'll just go through 3 tiny little sections of Wind of the Word, just so as you can get a flavour, because of course we all think in our own accent. Rain, rain, each drop a grain of wheat, each cluster of drops a branch of purple grapes. Rain, rain, no rain, a train whistling in the way in the darkness, a chain of light, each link a nest of laughter and conversation, watching it until it vanished into the night. Rain, the first drops boring holes in the dust, then settling in, washing the heat from your eyes, and the leaves of the trees and the dry creek bed suddenly surprised with a rush of water. Nectarines eaten at dawn from the tree, from the rain, the black muskats at dusk from the vine, unwashed with the bloom on them, and autumn yellow box honey were songs, if there had been a singer, due to rain. This township was a sprawl of loneliness in the country here on the rabbit farm. 8 houses without flowers to cover their nakedness, a little bakery, a store that sent you an account 6 months after you tried to pay it. And the yarn went about Mrs. Lumley and the butcher, and it went into the store and it said, "Hey, Mrs. Shallicombe." "Yes, Mr. Lumley." "Mrs. Shalladone, I reckon that Sam ought to get the Victoria Cross." "Why, Mr. Lumley?" "For putting up with you all these years." Mrs. Shalladone reached for a counterweight. Lumley said, "You can throw it if you like, Mrs. Shalladone, but I'll throw it right back at you, and I can throw harder than you, Mrs. Shalladone." Gossip in the small town, the post office with more eyes than it needed to sort a few letters, and a tongue sharp enough to reach everyone's ears in the district. The hawkers went through. But first I went out west into the silence and emptiness, and I met the wind, which was looking for a man-throat through which to sing a new Australian song to the word. They came back to me for the first time when I began this poem, and the wind lovingly urged me on to write it. We missed the horses. The horses had been replaced. The story of change. But there was love between man and the horse, care and response and companionship. There's care and response between man and machine, but the machine does not whinny back and eat sugar from your hand. Neither the horse, nor the tractor, nor the buggy, nor the motor car, nor the township or the city, neither the piano or the fiddle, nor the sophisticated band, neither the oral yarn, nor the written book. All that matters is the love with which one does what one does. The love and the song in one's words. Endure. Endure. Remember that the only thing that matters is the love with which one does what one does. Endure. Endure till the word of creation breaks the seal of its long silence. A few excerpts from The Wind of the Word, Francis's poetic shorthand biography.
Beautiful. So, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. What a treat this is. Chris Barker has his hand up. Go ahead, Chris.
Raine spoke eloquently about word at world's end. So I'll share a few couplets from this long poem. So Francis had on one hand exquisite love poetry to his beloved Baba, but on the other hand, he also had this poetry in Word at World's End, where it seems to me like his muse said to him, But Francis, how do you really feel about modern society? Tell us what you really think of modern society. So this is a few excerpts from the poem in which he does that. In this night, which neon makes day, the easy speakmen are raking hay for Big Fist, who doles them their pay, and nubile girls sing a roundelay, and youth in theaters, row on row, sit cheek to cheek and glow to glow, fearing the crop that love may sow, which they with their teeth will have to hoe. The wind sighs round tall modcon huts. A door opens and smiles and shuts. Foreign fingers and thighs score ruts. The dawn peeps over trays of butts. Nightmare refreshed, we rise from bed, tighten the loose screws in our head, breakfast on sawdust and liquid lead instead of fresh, plain fashioned bread. Now, speaking about politicians, he mouths and farts most wondrously, and all agree. What oratory! At last we grasp that liberty is the true object of shall be. Thieves, with all the delicate graces of shaven chins and double faces, are brought back from minor disgraces to occupy the highest places. Children blowing 10-cent whistles shoot through the crowd like flying missiles. In every vantage point bristles with columnists typing their epistles. For every heart within it bears a virgin soul, untouched by fears of being laid off and rent arrears, a pristine self, unstained by tears. Beneath all this which is or seems, behind the crude electric screams, which wet pavements shape into dreams, self floweth in perennial streams. So that's just about 1/10 or 20th of the book of that long poem. Wonderful. Yep.
So Rhino had to type this right after all the lovely little 4 and 20 blackbirds, and she was halfway through Dreams of Wet Pavements that Chris just read from, and so she went to Barbara and said, I am having terrible trouble typing this up, Barbara. I find it difficult. And Barbara said, just think of me and proceed. You have no idea how important this is to my work. And it was in the middle of Dreams of Wet Pavements that she made that complaint, not with all the lovely attributes of God in the latter part. So many of us have done plays and all sorts of things of the opening section. And as I say, Jacob Horsey and John Isaacs put it to music and do a lovely dire, depressing version of it. It's fantastic.
Now we have about 10 minutes left.
Yes, good, okay.
Before you sing, Mayor Prasad has hand up, so we'll just let, you want to go ahead, Mayor Prasad?
Yeah, I'll just read one ghazal from In Dust I Sing. It's
Thank you.
most beautiful one. The evening pianos have faltered into silence because of love. The night trumpets have wailed their last notes of violence because of love. How earnestly we pursue our roles in God's great game because of love. The freshening dream, the kiss, ever new and the same, because of love. Who, if he could hear his own voice, would go on singing because of love. The end remains covered, else few would make a beginning because of love. The difference between being pelted with eggs and showered with roses because of love is less one of talent than one's fate share which time discloses because of love. We sleep, sometimes we dream, and awaken to a new day because of love. A billion years of wayfaring, yet still we don't know the way because of love. We would not yet even have broken out of the beast cage because of love, if it were not for God-man's compassion and holy rage because of love. Tomorrow is another day for the battle's violence because of love. The few remaining hours of the night are for wine and silence because of love.
Thank you so much, Meher Prasad. This is a very important ghazal. After Francis having a few goes at this ghazal, at writing ghazals, it's called number 35 in the book, but it would not have been the 35th ghazal. Francis read it to Baba, and Baba had him read it again and said, "You've got it. At last, you've got it," with this ghazal. So this ghazal became a favourite of all the Mandali, particularly Meherwan Jesawala, and Rano loved this ghazal because they were the two Western Mandali. You know, they got on really well, Francis and Rano.
Raine?
Yes.
I know you're going to do another song.
No, I'm not actually. I'm just going to tell the story about this ghazal.
All right. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just, I always ask for that song about the glass.
Oh, yes. and so this Because of Love, Rano called her book, her art book, Because of Love. When I would go to India, they'd ask for this ghazal. It's very long. It's written for a group. Beautiful version by Sam, Because of Love. And so thank you, Meher Prasad, for bringing this ghazal up, because then we get the contained story of this ghazal. Page 35, ghazal 35, Because of Love. Also, about the ghazals, they're easy to remember. That's the one thing about them, because they're couplets and they rhyme. You know, often you'll forget couplet 6 or something, and you'll think, oh no, where am I? But if you just relax, it will come back. And in ghazal 3, also there's an important message, and I never forget couplet 6 in this. And that is our era. Well have you called yourself the ocean of mercy. Francis said this ghazal was unique to English because it had rejected us, protected us, corrected us, deflected us, selected us, respected us, and rejected us. But here in ghazal 5, in couplet 5, he says, our greatest error, beloved, is our presumption that out of this teeming world you selected us to carry your message and sing your songs in the sun, and our secret desire that men respected us. So as we go along over many, many years, we find many little hiccups and many little pockets to go into that we can trick ourselves as Baba lovers. So I had planned to do a different song than the one Ruth asked for. This song was the Londonderry Air from the 14th century, a famous, famous melody with many sets of words to it. In the First World War, of course, our father put the words Danny Boy to it, but the tune, the melody itself, goes way back in time. And it's in the East-West Gathering also on page 17. The dawn light breaks against my grief of stubborn days. The world awakes, each thing to sing your praise. And I alone stir not as though it still were night. As a dull stone, though sunshine gives no light. Mayhem, mayhem, all things reflect your face so fair. In each that sings, you of yourself are aware. But though I see your winning beauty everywhere, unless you give me love, what is all this to me? The dawn light sings up from the wells of lovers' eyes, and gladness springs in wild new melody.
and I alone remain unmoved by all around, as a dull stone, though struck, gives out no sound. Mayhair, mayhair, all forms your lovely image bear, and all voices your perfect truth declare. But though I see your winning beauty everywhere, unless you give me love, what is all this to me? The dawn light blooms within each heart, and nightingales their songs resume, which tell love's sweet sad tales. And I alone, hidden in darkest night, remain as a dull stone, though broken, knows no pain. Mayhair, mayhair, all things reflect your beauty rare. In every sweet song, you alone are there. But though I see your winning beauty everywhere, unless you give me love, what is all this to me?
Thank you.
Jai Baba, thank you everybody for coming.
We have one more.
Oh, all right.
We have
Chris.
something yet.
Do something beautiful, Chris.
How could we have a Francis Brabazon meeting and not have this guzzle from In Dust I Sing? Hopefully I didn't miss it while I was gone to the restroom. How can you even think of yourself as a poet unless when the banjos ring, you can heel and toe it? Poetry's in drunkenness, a lunatic distilling words from blood for a beloved who is never willing, whose eyes say, love me, but who looks askance at the poor singing fool's slightest advance, who hides the mystery of the stars in a wisp of hair, whose mouth, when given, is honey hiding stings of despair. Are you willing, friend, to dedicate your verse to one whose smile denies song's very purpose? Yet when the fool is silent, says, has my beauty become so poor that you've forgotten your duty? I tell you, dream not of a white-sheeted, scented bed. In the dust of Lover's Lane must roll the poet's head.
How can you even think of yourself as a poet unless when the banjos ring you can heel and toe it? Unless when the banjos ring you can heel and toe it. Poetry's in drunkenness, a lunatic distilling words from blood for a beloved who is never willing, whose eyes say love me, whose eyes say love me, whose eyes say love me, but who looks askance at the poor singing fool's slightest advance, who hides the mystery of the stars in a wisp of hair, whose mouth, when given, is honey hiding stings of despair. Are you willing, friend, to dedicate your verse to one whose song denies song's very purpose?
To one who song denies song's very purpose, yet when the fool is silent says, has my beauty become so poor that you've forgotten your duty? Has my beauty become so poor that you've forgotten your duty? I tell you, dream not of a white-sheeted, scented bed. In the dust of lovers' lane must roll the poet's head. In the dust of lovers' lane must roll the poet's head. Good remembering, Chris. So, Jay Baba, everybody, thank you for coming. Happy birthday, Francis. May beloved Baba bless you with 100 years of learning poetry, singing to the beloved, entertaining him. To entertain the beloved is our highest goal. It relieves him of so much suffering if we just keep trying to entertain him. This is our highest goal.
And happy birthday, Raine.
Oh,
Happy birthday,
Raine. Thank you. I'll now have a piece of cake.
Maybe we could have
we
one.
celebrated your birthday too.
Oh, it was always a little bit undercover, you know. But Francis and I knew, we were both in there.
Yes.
Francis sent a little telegram when Raine was born, and to cheer me up. He'd heard the news that she was a Down syndrome woman with trisomy 21, and he sent this beautiful cable. It's her own little poem. Joyful feelings felt all around that Raine baby is Baba bound. Only a poet can do that in a telegram, you know.
How about a quick moment of silence? It's 2 o'clock.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Raine.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
Thank you, Raine and Ruthie.
Hey, don't forget the
Very, very
28th,
lovely.
right?
Thank
The
you.
28th at 7 o'clock, Raine?
Yes, the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, at 10 a.m. Australia time, 13 and a half hours ahead India time from Pacific time. I will be doing the Latin collection of Francis Brabazon, Sam Saunders and Raine songs.
So we'll continue on is what that is.
Yes, a continuation of Brabazon. Seeing as Barbara was exciting them, we need to know them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And you know,
28th of
Thursday, the 28th of January.
January. Oh, this month.
Oh, yes, any day now. We'll just keep reading and you can update me when we get there, yes.
you know, if you wouldn't mind when you start, would you, I think if Elizabeth is there, she wondered, we don't have time now, but you could maybe talk a little bit about how you've memorized all this. If that's even something you want to share, but
yes, okay.
She asked. Yeah.
Well, the thing about memorization is you just have to do it. And the easiest way to do it is to walk. So I'll print out, you know, I'll photocopy a page out of Endas I Sing and I'll walk and just start, you know, Ghazal 1, we have waited all night for you, Ghazal 5, do not give up, Ghazal 35, because of love, Ghazal 149, wildest note, Ghazal 150, when Francis marries Baba, and Ghazal 150, Francis marries Baba.
Oh.
Yes, that's one of my Latin collection that I've put to a Rodriguez melody.
Wow.
I see Barbara's here, so I'm going to go ahead and
Jai
turn
Baba.
over to her.
Jai Baba.
Everyone.
Jai Baba.
Love to Peter too.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Raine, you were fabulous.
Wonderful.
Francis.
Peeler.
Thank you so much, Chris, Raine,
Ruthie.
Oh, thank you,
And Chris
Dana.
and
Dana
Raine.
knows these songs.
I can't wait for the Latin version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Latin is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Lovely celebration. Thank you.
Thank
Beautiful.
you, everybody. Jai
Very
Baba.
beautiful. Jai Baba.
Fantastic Zoom. Thank you so much, Sheba.